This song's dedicated to my R.E. and the survival horror gen. Why did you have to go so soon? It seems like yesterday we were hanging round the hood, and I'm gonna keep your memory alive like a fan should. Hey, yo, y'all got to hear me sing, man. Look, I told y'all, your boy Tick can blow a little bit, yo. No homo, no homo. But KK Arena, if you want to do a live singing com, or not a live, a dual singing com, you know where to go, man. Hit me up on it. Tell me how you want it done, how you want to harmonize on it, and and I got you. Hit me up on Skype or whatever, man. We in there. But anyway, Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6. What can I say about this game? Basically, it's not Resident Evil. And I say this because there's a lot of reasons. If you play Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, the remake on the GameCube, along with Resident Evil 0 on the GameCube, you would know that this game is not Resident Evil. And there's a lot of reasons I'm explaining during the whole demo why. And yes, this is a demo, but it's not a beta. You gotta remember that this is a demonstration, not a beta or an alpha. So this is the full game. It's just a short version of it. So the game is gonna be just like this game. All right. First thing, man, on the original the survival horror Resident Evils, because this game is not survival horror, obviously. This is definitely survival action, I guess you could say. But it's not survival horror whatsoever. It's slowly turning into an action game. As you can see, Leon practicing his Bruce Lee moves here. So I decided to see if I can go through the whole game without shooting my gun, the whole demo without shooting my gun one time, and just kicking zombies. And I like how they try to make the Leon version like the survival horror. That's why I'm playing it, because they said this was going to be more like survival horror. But it still isn't. It's still not as scary as the old Resident Evils. Notice how I run up to the zombies and I could just kick them all day. But it was one part in the game where I had to stop kicking. I actually had to use my gun because I got a little overwhelmed by zombies. And this zombie here got me on some running nonsense I couldn't do anything about because it was a cutscene. But yeah, the game it's not hard. Like, zombies are not scary anymore. Back in the old Resident Evil, get the bulldog, and that's one of the that's one of the things, man. You could bulldog zombies, dude. That's crazy. But Resident Evil back in the day, man, you wanted to really avoid zombies. You didn't want a zombie to get anywhere close to you, because if they grabbed you, they would bite you. And on the original Resident Evil, Jill would only be able to take 2 bites, and Chris would be able to only take 3, because he was a man, he was a little stronger. But on this, man, there's none of that fear for zombies. Like, you don't have to run from zombies. You can run right up on them like I'm doing. That was lucky because he dove on me, but I hit the right trigger to try to kick him, and I shot him in his face instantly because of that. That's why I look so weird. But on this one, you could just run up to the zombies and kick them all day with no issue at all. It's not like they're going to bite you. Once you kick them, they're stunned, and they stumble back, and you can just repeatedly kick them until you finish them off. And that's what I was doing the whole time. So that's one of the things I don't like about the game. It's just, there's no reason to avoid zombies. I mean, it's too easy to kill them nowadays. Like I said in the past, a zombie was a scary sight. Like, you had to realize, like, if you wanted to waste your ammo on them or if you wanted to run around them. Also, I noticed they took puzzles out the game. Puzzles was a big factor of the old Resident Evil survival horror games. They had difficult puzzles that you would have to either realize how to do them, or you had to get like either a file or something you would find and pick it up, and it would give you like a clue of how a puzzle that's coming up ahead would work. And you had to find a file and actually figure out what you have to do on a puzzle. It might give you a code for a safe, a code for a keypad, or it might give you an idea what order something has to be put in for a puzzle and things like that. There was no puzzles at all through this whole demo. Like, I didn't have to do one puzzle. It was just all find this and then open this door. It was just too simple. Second of all, the camera. A lot of people didn't like the older camera of Resident Evil. I actually liked it. Now, a lot of people complain about the controls in the camera being too hard to work with. Now, mind you, when I first played Resident Evil, I was 10 years old. This was back in 1996 on the PlayStation, and that was the first Resident Evil I ever played and beat. And notice I said beat at 10 years old. And the game was so much scary. I remember when I first played it and I ran into that one zombie in that one room that was eating that dude, and he killed me because I didn't know how to work the controls at the time. And like I didn't play the game for like a week, and I had a nightmare that night too. Like it was just crazy that I was inside the mansion and there was a zombie coming at me. That's how scary that game was. To be so ugly of a game, but it was real looking back then because, you know, we never seen anything like that. But for that game to be as ugly as it was, like it played on your imagination very well. So that game scared the mess out of me. But this game, it just doesn't. Even the remake of Resident Evil on a GameCube was even scarier than the first. I mean, it was so much scarier. And as you see when I'm killing zombies, how they just bubble away and stuff like that. That's another issue with the game I have. I don't understand why that happens. People say, well, it uses less resources, but I don't think that it really does. What they could do is like Call of Duty, the body stay there, but the more zombies you kill, a body might disappear. I like that better than the zombies just bubbling away. Or they could do it like the original, the remake of the original Resident Evil, where you would kill a zombie, and the zombie would stay there even when you left the room, because on the old Resident Evil, when you left a room, the zombies disappear. But on that one, the zombie would stay there, and what you had to do was you had to get a flask, which you would fill up with gasoline in certain areas, and you only had like 3 charges of gasoline that you could use. And when you would kill a zombie, you had to decide on if you wanted to light that zombie on fire, because if you didn't, the zombies would mutate after a few minutes of the game. They would mutate and turn into what is called a Crimson Head, which were like these super fast, strong zombies who had claws, and they were harder to kill. And they were mutating into those. I mean, when I first saw one, the sucker was laying down, and I could just see like it had like longer claws. And I was like, oh, what is that? And then I ran past it, and that sucker just hopped up and just started running down the hallway to me and swiped at me. And like you had to use a shotgun to basically take it out. If you used the pistol, you were going to take a lot of damage before you killed it, if not died. So that added another element to the game. Like you had to figure out like what zombies that you had to light on fire. Like if you were going to be coming back to that room more than once, you had to light that zombie on fire, because if not, he would come back as something stronger. So that was another survival horror element that this game does not have that the older ones had. And I was mentioning the camera. I forgot to talk about that. But the camera, it looks like it's a bit closer than what I remember on Resident Evil 4. I didn't play 5 because, you know, I think Resident Evil, you know, is not survival horror anymore. But it looks like it's a bit closer, which is a good thing. I mean, it's kind of hard to see what's coming from your left and your right. But I like the fixed cameras that were in the older Resident Evils better. One, you couldn't see in one part of the room most of the time. Get the bulldog. And what would happen was you had to maneuver around the room to get that right camera that'll give you a better view of what's around the corner. So you had to use the ambient sounds of the game to try to figure out if there was a monster in the room, how close it was, and where it was. So then you had to run to that side of the camera to better see the monster, which added an element to the game. Like I like the whole little surveillance camera thing they had back in the day. Like it just made it scarier. Especially when that time I went in the room and I just heard like doof doof doof, and there was like a hunter running to me. That was the big green guys with the claws that could take your head off with one swipe instantly. And like that thing, like it was so scary to hear that. Like I remember that stuff, and I was like, wow, that's scary. And the lickers that crawled on the walls too on Resident Evil 2 and 3, like that was scary too. So I wish they would go back to the old camera, but I don't really see that much of a problem with the new camera since it's kind of close, but it's still just not as survival horror as the older one. So also another thing, man, it seems like you find health way too much in this game. Like I remember on the older Resident Evil, like finding health, I don't know if I said Call of Duty before, I probably did, because this game is basically like Call of Duty. And it used to be good, and now it's like too easy. But I don't know, you just find too much health on this game. But here's the part where I actually had to start shooting because I got overwhelmed trying to kick and I got hurt. I couldn't figure out how to heal at first. You're going to see at one point I'm going to start messing around with the items because I was trying to figure out how to heal. Didn't realize I had hit the right bumper until later on. I almost died, but luckily I had a co-op partner that you can't get away from, which is another thing that's wrong with the game, that you have to have a person following you in the game. It doesn't matter. There's no way you can play with your guy by themselves, which is, unless, I don't know, later on in the game you might break up, but other than that, this person's always following you. Now, if they would have had it like Resident Evil 0 where you could switch between your characters, it was nice. And then a lot of times on that one, you and your partner would get separated from each other. but you could switch between each other even when you guys were separated. You could switch between your characters, which was nice. You could tell them to wait there and then go all the way around somewhere else and then switch to your character. I don't know why they didn't add that to this game, but that's awesome and good. But all in all, I'm not saying that the game is bad. The game is good if you started playing around RE4 all the way up to this, or if you sucked at the ones before and this one is a bit simpler to you to play, then you might definitely like. What did she do? Did she wave a cell phone in front of me? But if you had a problem with the older ones because it was too difficult, then you would definitely like this one. But me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other old Resident Evil players, like, we don't like it, man. It's just not survival horror to us. But anyway, this is where the demo is going to end right here. If you like the video, please hit that like button. Also subscribe and leave some feedback, man. Feedback is always welcome on my channel. I try to reply back to a lot of comments that subs or people who came to the channel leave. So please leave some feedback on what you think. If you like it or not, let me know. But this is your boy Tick, aka Game Fanatic, Michael Jordan, the gaming, and I'm gone. Bye.